I'm on my way to Enid to find out how they turn wheat into flour. Do you know what has wheat flour? Donuts.
We visited Chisholm Trail Milling on a mission to find out how wheat gets turned into flour. We did find those answers, but we learned a lot more along the way. The most important thing we learned is Chisholm Trail is no ordinary miller of wheat. The why behind what they do is even more fascinating than the how they do it.
And we will get to that, but first, a little history and background information.
Man began eating grains, such as wheat, over 100,000 years ago. They just chewed the hard grains, but they were difficult to eat and digest. At some point, humans figured out grinding the grains made them easier to eat and more digestible. Millstones used for grinding the grain have been found across Europe that date back more than 30,000 years ago. Some experts believe widespread grinding of grain to flour goes back even farther. While advances in milling grain continue to evolve from the simplest form of a mortar and pestle to animal, wind, or water-driven mills, they all involve millstones to crush the grain.
In the 1830s, experimentation with roller mills began.
The idea was to run the grain through a series of progressively finer rollers. We will look closer at the differences between roller and stone milling in a bit. For now, we will just explain why roller milling became so popular. The population was growing, and with it, so was the demand for more food. By 1900, roller mill technology had advanced to the point where production was 6 times as much as it had been just a few decades before, when almost all the mills were using stones. The roller mills were also more efficient at removing the parts of the wheat grain that had more fats, which meant that the flour could be stored longer. Unfortunately, that also meant nutrition and flavor was being removed too. Over the 20th century, typical flour became heavily refined, including bleaching, blending, and fortification of some of the nutrition stripped out in the milling process. Some would say what flour gained in efficiency and uniformity, it lost in character.
One of those people would be Graison Gill.
Graison has had a lifelong passion for food, a passion that led him to fall in love with baking and studying at the San Francisco Baking Institute. He is also a James Beard Award finalist. While at the Institute, his love of the craft of baking grew, but so did his curiosity. Namely, they were making a huge range of baked goods, but the key ingredient in all of them, plain white flour, was constant. He felt like the most important ingredient, the flour, was being ignored. As founder of Bellegarde Bakery in New Orleans, Graison decided to change that. He set out to treat the flour as the most important ingredient and started a quest for sourcing the best flour for his bakery.
That quest led him to Oklahoma in a partnership with Brady Sidwell.
Brady farms more than 2,000 acres and is an innovator in driving Oklahoma's agriculture. He also works closely with the state's wheat research institutions, including Oklahoma State University and the Oklahoma Wheat Commission. The passion Graison has for baking is matched by the passion Brady has for farming. The milling process is the link between the two, and they joined forces to create Chisholm Trail Milling. Chisholm Trail's head of milling is Corbin Johns. Corbin doesn't treat the milling process like flour is a commodity. He approaches it like he's crafting an ingredient, with an emphasis on its flavor, texture, structure, elasticity, and workability. Corbin's respect for ingredients is no accident. He is a classically trained chef from the Culinary Institute of America.
I visited the bakery at the CIA in New York last spring. It gets a big thumbs up from me.
Treating flour as an ingredient starts way before the mill. It even starts before the farm. It starts with wheat breeding. There are over 100,000 or so unique varieties of wheat. If you've seen our Norman Borlaug video, you saw how wheat breeders develop new breeds for desired characteristics. Some of those are related to production, like yield and disease tolerance, but they can also breed to improve flavors and bakeability. Chisholm Trail's flours are from varieties selected for their flavors. Each flour is from a single wheat variety and labeled with that information and characteristics. But the wheat is more than its variety. It's a product of the soil, the climate, the way it was grown, and even how it was harvested. The wheat they use is from Garfield County in the heart of wheat country in Oklahoma.
Oklahoma is known for growing some of the best wheat in the world.
Corbin showed us some of the wheat and taught us about terroir, a word he taught us that means the environmental, soil, and climate conditions under which something is grown. It's the reason why where grapes are grown is important to wine and why Greek tomatoes taste so good. Turns out it applies to wheat and flour too.
So we start with this.
You were looking for a pastry.
Yes.
What makes a good pastry? Flour.
What we're looking for is something that's got a low dough strength as well as a moderate to low protein content. So that way the dough is softer and easier to chew through. But we're also looking for a variety that's a soft white winter wheat. So there's 4 different varieties. There's a soft red, soft white, hard red, and hard white. And the big difference between them is not only mouthfeel, but flavor. And what we mill for here is flavor. So we try to get the terroir of the actual grain where it was grown in the product.
I'll set this down.
Trying to get the what?
The terroir.
Okay, I'll set
What's
this
that?
down.
It's the French term. It's was traditionally used in winemaking, but terroir is all of the environmental conditions, all of the farmer input that gives a particular food from a specific place its flavor. So this is our durum. This is the hardest grain that we own. And if you were to actually crunch on this, you'd see why. So
That's good for making pasta.
This is excellent for pasta. So this sits at about 17.5 protein percentage. So it's going to have a really high dough strength. And it's also going to be really chewy.
So protein correlates with dough strength?
Yes, but there's other factors that go into it, such as the aging and where it's harvested and that kind of stuff. The variety of the grain.
Preserving those desired and unique characteristics through the milling process takes special care, and to do that, Chisholm Trail utilizes the ancient and slower stone milling method. To understand milling, it helps to look at a wheat kernel, sometimes called a wheat berry.
A wheat berry is made of 3 parts, all of them edible.
Deep inside is the wheat germ. This is the part of the seed that can sprout into a new plant. It's packed with nutrients, vitamins, and healthy fats. The surrounding endosperm is the initial food for that plant. It's primarily a starchy carbohydrate. It does have some vitamins and minerals, but the least amount per volume of any of the 3 parts. The bran layer is the outer shell, which protects the seed. It has fiber, minerals, and trace vitamins. In refined white flour, the bran and the wheat germ are removed during the roller milling process. Some roller mills do offer whole grain products, but they just take some of the bran that was removed in the process and mix it back in. The stone milling process is a true whole grain process. The bran, germ, and endosperm are all crushed and mixed together. The resulting flour is higher in natural nutrients, fats, and fiber.
The advantages of the stone versus the stainless steel is, for us, we keep all of the entire grain in the product. So unlike what you're going to get whenever you go to, say, the store for Pillsbury flour or Great Choice, they take all the bran out of that. Even their whole wheat, they remove all the bran and they just add a little bit in at the end. That way they can call it whole wheat. So we don't separate any of it. So all the flour that we mill here is done on granite. It's all stone ground. We're the only ones in the state that actually do this. So while everybody else is going to be using steel roller mills, which is a set of steel rollers that get progressively smaller, we're doing it all the old-fashioned way.
Good.
The stone mill operating principle is pretty simple. Corbin demonstrated it using this tabletop model. Wheat is placed into this hopper where it falls down a hole in between two millstones. The bottom stone is the bed stone. It doesn't move. It's slightly convex. The top millstone is the runner stone, and it rotates. It's slightly concave. Both stones have furrows cut into them, which provide a grinding action as well as moving the flour to the outside edge of the mill for collection. The pattern of furrows is called a harp. You can see the harp pattern in the Chisholm Trail logo. Here, Alex is collecting the flour from this demonstration model in a small bag. This small mill is just for demonstrations and some tests, but the bigger version operates the same way. Corbin walked us through their newest and largest mill, which is also equipped with an automatic sifter.
All right, so from top to bottom, the process goes from our hopper. This one holds 300 pounds of grain. We can do that in about 3 hours, 3 hours, 15 minutes, give or take. Feeds into a worm auger, which puts it out into the top of the mill, where it's then spun and then crushed between two huge stones. Now this is a 48-inch mill, so this is two 1,400-pound slabs of monolithic granite. There's two stones in here. There's a stone right about here. It's called the runner stone. That's the stone that actually moves and kicks the flour out. The other stone, which you can actually see, is the bed stone. So the bed stone doesn't move at all. So as soon as it's done getting milled, this is a bucket adapter. As soon as it's done getting milled, it comes right out of the chute. This one, we're lucky enough to have an automatic sifter for.
Oh, so if this is closed, it's going to go this way?
Yes.
Okay.
And this sorts it into 4 separate coarsenesses. With the closest one to the mill being the finest, all the way out to the bran on the end. So anything that won't fit through those screens goes out with the bran. Most of the bran stays in though.
The sizing from the sifter allows Corbin to provide flours with different degrees of fineness. Next, we saw one of their other 3 mills in operation. It is processing a variety of wheat called Bellegarde. It's a hard winter wheat that is used to make their red wheat flour.
This wheel controls the distance between the two stones. The auger is metering in the wheat at a rate the operator can set.
Once inside the mill, the wheat falls in between the 2 stones and gets crushed, mixed, and moved to the edge of the mill where it falls out the discharge chute into a collector.
So this is fresh off the mill. This is still nice and hot. And this is our Bellegarde. And if you actually get in there to smell that, it's going to be extremely nutty.
I'm going to see how.
Right now, this feels like it's about 85, 86 degrees.
This mill doesn't have an automatic sifter, so from here, it will be taken to the manual sifter. The manual sifter has screen boxes with different size openings to sort by size. Big pieces of bran get sorted into a different container and will be resifted. Very fine dust also gets separated out and is not sold as flour.
So we loaded about 3.5 pounds at a time.
The sifted flour destined for customers is collected here. Once milled and sifted, the flour is bagged into retail-sized bags or bulk bags. Corbin showed us how the bag sealer works for the retail bags.
Okay, watch this, buddy. Watch this bag go through.
The top's warm, yeah. Top's hot. And now the bag's sealed.
These heated rollers seal the special lining inside the paper bags to make it airtight.
And the larger bulk bags are sewn shut with this machine.
To help us understand the differences in the flours, Corbin walked us through some of their offerings. We recommend visiting their website to see their current offerings as they test new products and offer others based on availability.
Which one do you want to start with?
Wherever you want to go.
Let's just go from here to
Okay, let's
From left to right?
Yeah.
Okay, so this is our durum. Sorry, the labels get a little dusty here.
Yeah, it's getting old. Rusty, dusty,
But-
rusty.
This is our durum. I actually have a small amount that we're going to be tasting here in a little bit.
Okay.
This is really good for pizzas, pastas, hard doughs, ciabatta bread, that kind of thing. This is really nice. The flavor on it is like extra sandy and buttery. So it's just one of the little things to look out for. We have our durum. So this is our pasta and pizza flour. You'll feel that this is like really, really, really sandy.
Sand. You're gonna make a sandcastle out of it.
So you find that that's a lot grittier, and that's just because the actual hardness of the grain it's so much harder than anything else we have.
So can you tell a big difference when it's going through the mill?
Yes. So the hardness of the grain directly correlates to how loud those mills run.
Okay.
Look at the difference. They see the top, this one and this one. They have different color and different names. Yeah, I'll make them remember.
So this is our hard white winter wheat. This is our big country. This is our biggest seller right now. So this one has notes of, like flavor notes of cream, milk, butter, and it's really dairy forward in its flavor profile. And this is really good for just about any bread that you need. So sourdoughs, biscuits, challah bread, that kind of stuff this is what it's excellent for. So this is our big country. You'll notice that this one is very white. This one the durum was a little bit yellow. This one is just white. It's pale.
Feels soft.
And it's soft, but it's still a hard grain.
Oh my god, how's the hardest
So I don't have any of the Gallagher bagged right now. We just got bought
Tell
out.
me about the Gallagher, and then I'll get a picture of it at the.
Yeah, you could just dump all of
So
them.
the Gallagher is our hard red, and it's really nutty, a little bit tannic, and it's really flinty. That's what I like about it.
Yeah, so you have to, so all your Gallagher's just mint. Now you need to make more.
Hold on, buddy. So what do you use Gallagher for?
It serves the same use as our hard white flour, so it's really good for just about any bread application you need it for. And then lastly is our Gallagher. You notice this one is distinctly more red to reddish gray. It's a little bit harder than the Big Country, so even though the flour feels soft, it's still a little bit gritty. There's still a little bite. Lastly is our heirloom rye flour. This comes out of Hennessy. There's really not a lot to say. This one is extremely flinty, like very mineral forward, so it's going to be sharp on the tongue. But this variety in particular also has notes of like fresh cut tobacco, which is something that's a little different. And this is really good in like cakes, pies, pastries, and rye bread. So this is our rye. And you can see that it's kind of whitish gray. And if you feel it, it's extremely soft. Like extremely soft.
Let me try.
On our way home, we bought some flour from one of their local outlets, Enid Brewing Company. They have several other regional retailers, but they also offer their products for sale online. Corbin, we showed up expecting just to learn about milling, but you taught us so much more than that. We will never look at flour the same way again.
Yep, and I have a hankering for cookies, so I'm going to go. See you next time.